about the past 6 months, it's getting harder and harder to sleep. But especially, I would say probably the past month and a half or 2 months, because I found a way to get to use the VA to find employment they agree with, um, that it's not going to damage my body or put me in the hospital. Uh, employment that's not going to mess with my benefits. Um, employment that my disabilities will be, I'll be protected. My disabilities will be protected. Just to use the VRNE. That's why it's there. And I don't even know if I'm dealing with the Detroit VRNE because when I asked for a supervisor, the office gave me a different person than my counselor did, who's her supervisor. And, I don't know what's going on. Of course, I've never seen an ID because everything is completely online, which, makes it possibly real because I know that VRC counselors work with people all over the world. Um, there's VRC counselors who are overseas who work with vets that are stateside and vice versa. Um, because what the VA does, just like with the doctors, nurses, radiologists, if something can be done online, like triage nursing, um, there's no guarantee the person is in your state. They just have to be able to be licensed in your state. That's it. They could be anywhere. Um, and there's even ways around that, through telemedicine. But I found something here. I mean, you know, the where I was set up before, not Hadbash, the agency, but a couple of social workers in the Hadbash program. But they did that to me, kind of pushed me to use a lot of my money and all of my savings to pay for the sheltering expenses while they tried to sort out what was going on with the agency that was supposed to be paying. Which ruined my credit. Besides the identity theft, this was the biggest, bunch of nails in the coffin for my credit, which make a clearance very, very difficult. There's a whole bunch of steps I'm going to have to do to be able to qualify. Doesn't mean I'll get a clearance, but qualify to be vetted. Doesn't mean that they'll adjudicate me positively. It means at least I'll be in a position where they'll vet me. Very difficult, a lot of steps, a lot. But and this is only for something like a NACI, NACI with inquiries. Um, Secret, that's kind of that's kind of iffy. It to be in my benefit. I've had a secret before that's positive. If you've had a clearance before, the only problem is the breaks since your last clearance, which for me is like I don't believe my clearance was canceled. I don't. It's not worth it to cancel it. I mean, they may have, but it was through 2022. It's for 10 years. It's 2012 through 2022. Um, so that means I only have 4 years gap. Technically three gap years. But anyway, so but it's obvious, somebody has really retaliated against me because some of the stuff that's happened, it's like somebody knows about federal employment and they want to make it as difficult as possible. I don't want to blame it on the company, but the amount of resources that the Constellas portfolio have is substantial. Substantial. Not that I want to blame Constellas Holdings. That's the uh, gosh, what do you call it? It's a shark bank. It's a investment bank that bought the company. Um, that bought Triple Canopy and absorbed all of their holdings. But definitely some of the people that I used to work with have retaliated. Don't ask me why. But anyway, but so, you know, it shocks me that a veteran would betray another vet. Shocks me. I would never. Not unless I saw gross illegal things going on, abuse, um, stuff like that. I wouldn't betray another veteran. It's just a code, a warrior code. Only if I saw serious crime or abuse or human trafficking or whatever, drug trafficking. That's the only time I would betray another veteran. But anyway, so I'm in a position to work because they canceled my claim. They only legitimately adjudicated, except saying deny, 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 ignoring stuff in my enlisted medical record, and still denying me for things that are there. Besides that, and besides the what, four or five, maybe six things that were legitimately adjudicated out of like 18, and that and then canceling everything. So there's about six things that were really adjudicated. But finding something within those six things, um, um, actually, it's probably more than that. It's probably about eight things. Eight things they say are disabilities. Four are service related, out of 18. And the other 10 they just ignored. Actually, I take that back. The other 12, I forgot about two. The other 12 they just denied, and canceled the claim. But anyway, having something in place that I can do, identify the job that I can do. There's not many because I have a lot of issues. But I don't, even if I was 100%, I don't want to just sit around. I want to do something, and I sure as heck am not going to let my family live in poverty. It's been going on for 10 years. We in 2020 we were doing great. My credit was at 700. Um, Budgeting stipends and scholarships and refunds and part-time jobs. We were. I'm not saying we're doing great, but we were doing okay. My kids were getting all the support they need wherever they are, and then everything started to fall apart in 2020, and and then that social worker, everything that she did made it worse. Um, because then my credit got destroyed, which makes it hard, to at that time to bring my business online. It made it impossible, and then getting COVID so many times, uh, because we were displaced and not in a very good place. Not that we are now. Uh, I especially have been getting sick a lot since 2020, and some of it is my health declining. Some of it is the environments we're put in. Um, then you can add in, I many times have not gotten good medical care. Usually it'll start to come, and then it'll just fall apart. Um, in the very beginning, it'll look hopeful, and then after a couple of months, we'll see that especially I will see that the medical care is not that good. Yeah, I will say the past couple of years, at least they're trying somewhat. They'll give me the medications I need, but on paper they make it look like I'm not sick at all. Um, and a hell of a lot of retaliating. If you look at my blue button report, about a quarter of it is just retaliation, and a little bit of it is lying, fabrication, to try to humiliate me. Saying things like, "Oh, he's not trying hard enough for an asthma test," or um, "Oh, hey, his asthma is mild, occasional, intermittent, um, weak asthma." Or his sinusitis is 0% because he's not sick enough. Twice, 2 to 3 times a year isn't enough. 2 to 3 times a year for over the past 13 years of records they've had. I believe I gave them about 13 years of records. Um, Almost 2 or 3 times a year, minus what, maybe 2 or 3 years where we didn't have medical care. Like when we were in Auburn in that hotel, we didn't have medical care. Only in an emergency we went to Saginaw to the ER if we had transportation. If we didn't have transportation, um, we didn't have medical care. It would be calling an ambulance to take us all the way to Saginaw because we didn't have any doctors around there. But anyway, so I mean, there was a period of probably 3 or 4 months where we could drive. The other 3 or 4 months we could not. But so we were able to go to Saginaw for 3 or 4 months, to get medical care. But anyway, so coming back to the VA, the VRE in Detroit, they're ignoring me. Um, they keep blaming me while my rehabilitation plan isn't moving forward. But I've completed all the tasks. They keep sending me these automated emails. How come you aren't going to the next step? And I keep telling them I'm done, but nothing moves forward. And now I'm at the point where the system has registered me for class, so we have to unregister me and and deal with me being having a seat at the school, but the VA is not moving along. So the question is, how long will the school let me keep my seat? And this is a pathway to work. I want to earn income. Even if I was 100%, I would find something that I could do. Because even if you're 100%, and even if you have a few children, still, if you're a family of four and you are 100% disabled, you will earn about 3 grand a year, around 3 grand. For your family size, that's still below the federal poverty level. You don't get rich being a disabled vet. Um, so, people don't realize that veteran that's at 100%, if they have 2 kids and one wife, that's a family of four. Their last time I checked, their mean federal poverty level was around like 40 or 42, somewhere around there. They're not making that. They're making around 36. Still below 150% below the federal poverty level. Like I said, which is around 42 to 46 for a family of four. Um, so they're still probably on food stamps. You don't get rich being a disabled vet. And you consider the time loss, for the veteran having to, deal with medical type stuff for their spouse, that also takes from the family too. Deal with their medical issues, recovery, rehab, treatments. It's, for some medical issues, repeated hospitalizations. It takes a lot on a family. This country, and especially Michigan, I'm not impressed how they take care of their veterans. I'm not impressed at all. And I don't want to go into dealing with the governor. You know, uh, I don't. I think there's a lot of stuff with the direction I see the Trump administration going that I'm not as pleased as I once was, especially how veterans are treated. And the targeting of people who are not wealthy, people who are middle class and below, who are not wealthy, trying to prevent them from getting a graduate degree and pushing them into something like voc rehab, or not voc rehab, vocational education. Somebody shouldn't have to be a carpenter or a welder if they like diagnosing mental illness and helping people, or prescribing medication through a pharmacy because they want to be a pharmacist. People shouldn't have to make those choices. Oh, there's only money, so I can be a welder, something I'm going to hate doing, and something I may even be bad at. Oh, yeah, I guess all I can be is a nurse assistant when I graduated from high school, top of my class, and got scholarships, but not enough to get me into grad school. I don't agree with the big, beautiful plan at all. It's not beautiful. It's ugly to me and it's disgusting. And it shows me the direction. I don't want to go into parties, but anyway, I think it's disgusting. I'm glad I'm a libertarian. I will choose, if if my party as a unified group decides to go blue or red, like some have went blue because they support the Lincoln Project, I will. I'm disgusted the direction the Trump administration has went regarding education and regarding taking care of veterans. I'm disgusted. But anyway, this isn't about that. And it's also apparently the direction the VA is going to, at least with voc rehab, um, because nothing has moved. My family's future. I think veterans are better than living off $1,000 a month. I think we're better than that, than being pushed to the you know, same really horrible standard of living like somebody has that has to be on SSI. SSI people, now we're put in the same boat as them, but we've served our country. Shouldn't we be treated a bit more, a little bit better, at a minimum? But then again, people on SSI, why are these people, forced to live in government housing, live on pennies, just because they're disabled? I'm sick of this elitist bull crap. And I'm glad I'm a libertarian, and I'm disgusted the direction we're going towards more racial, or correction, not well, racial. No, we're made to think it's racial, but actually, despite there are still some racial disparities in certain things, but they're actually decreasing. What is increasing is the gap between rich and poor. It doesn't matter your skin color anymore. It matters what your parents did, what your grandparents did, and how much money is in the bank. That's what matters now. Race is becoming a thing of the past as far as mattering when it comes to the trajectory of your children and grandchildren. Your skin color is becoming unimportant. And I don't care, people out there who disagree. I'm looking at the big scope of things. You are wrong. Now the problem is who has and who does not. And the big, beautiful bill certainly says one thing that people who are middle class and below have not, and that's going to be a graduate education, which is going to dramatically, dramatically decrease their buying power. So all you people who are one percenters who own, portfolios with companies or owners of a giant company supporting the big beautiful bill, you are a fool because you guaranteed your hegemony, your place in the world, your buying power based on our buying power has just got cut in half because the big stupid ugly beautiful bill. Because uneducated people or people that can't advance in their career don't spend money. And that being said, regarding what VRNE is doing to me, and if it's not VRNE, somebody would have had to prosecute somebody by now. All the paperwork I've received, all the things that are going back and forth, you know. Of course, it's mostly between me and them, but still. I know it goes across a monitored network. Buena Vista simulates many, many of us. I should say, in Buena Vista, many, many of us are simulated. And I know the apartment complex I live, somebody is using a simulator. I see it all the time. So that means more than just a few people know that somebody's pretending to be the VA. And I can almost guarantee that a couple of Buena Vista cops know about it too, because I see them come in my complex all the time. They're friends with some of these people who are simulating. Just because you're a cop doesn't mean you deserve the badge. And some of these people aren't really cops anyway. They're marijuana cops trying to cleverly masquerade that they're extra police officers. Technically, marijuana cops aren't real cops. They're security officers. How do I know? Because I have memorized the compliance laws because that company that I never could start, could never bring it online, that was one of our special services was catering to the marijuana industry. But screwing my family over and screwing over this my chance with the school, and as I align my seat in the school with more and more possibilities with Bureau of Indian Affairs or with the VA, to do one of those jobs that I can step right into because they're having a crisis, in social work, psychology, nursing. The VA is having a crisis, and so is BIA. They don't have enough people. And I'm someone that I love to serve. I don't mind signing a contract for 6 years. It doesn't bother me at all. I plan to work 10 to 12, or maybe 10 to 15, and then retire. So I don't have a problem signing a contract at all. It doesn't bother me. Okay. Where do you want to send me? Indian country. All right. Alaska. Hey, all right. Hills of California. I don't care as long as I have a good hybrid. Kansas. Hey, all right. It doesn't matter. I'll be taking care of vets. And I can do my own academic and uh, legal interests on my own time, like my mentor did, which got her um, a job of a lifetime. I'm not going to talk about her here. And but whatever's going on with this, they're absolutely ruining my rehab plan by doing nothing. And nobody wants to get involved, of course. I'm just documenting this because it's absolutely despicable that people continue to do stuff to a veteran. I don't care if people like me. I don't care. As long as I'm true to my family, true to my kids, true to my higher power, true to God, true to his mother, true true to the Trinity, and true to Jesus' mother. And I'm true to the other people of faith, the righteous Gentile, out there. That concept, the anonymous Christian. I firmly believe in it. And I don't even care who doesn't or who says I'm wrong. I'm from the Vatican. I disagree with you. Oh, you misinterpret Catholic doctrine. I don't really care. I believe that Vatican II does leave an open door in Judaism for the righteous Gentile. That's what they're called. Or for Karl Rahner's concept, Father Karl Rahner's concept of the anonymous Christian. The person of faith who's righteous, who knows Christ but doesn't know him personally, but knows him in their heart because they follow that written code of law that St. Paul talks about, the code of law written on the human heart, a basic, uh, a basic human moral code, natural law, to a certain extent, natural law. But anyway, um, that just ignoring me and everything that they're doing with the VA and their this gaslighting and just on and off. It's like hot and cold. And that's why I'm moving nowhere. Nothing's happening. And classes start in 2 weeks. I'm already registered. Yeah, I only got 4 credits transferred in, but still it's pretty good. This isn't undergrad. This is graduate work. You don't always get credits transferred in, certainly when you're dealing with a higher notch school. So, anyway, this is another record of, more stuff happening to us. It just never stops. And I sincerely want to find something that I can do, to work that's not going to put me in the hospital. It's not going to erase the medical benefits I have right now. The overall benefits I have right now. It's something that's not going to um, put me in a worse place than I'm at. So I work somewhere that I become worse off. That's not the object. Become more sick because your job. Um, that's not the object of any of this. Or do something you're incompetent at. But I could be gainfully employed within a year or two in something that I would enjoy, something that I've been prepared for my whole life. I've been studying psychology in various forms: psychology, anthropology, philosophy, and theology. I've been studying these things since high school, and I would be helping veterans and building my own practice off of that cornerstone, and using my federal points. I have a lot of federal points. I have 6 years, almost 6 years of, I don't even know how many points we get for reserve service. I mean, I could have 6 to 8 years of federal points. So, like I said, I only have to work 10 or 15 years for a full federal retirement. But people keep targeting us, so who knows what will happen. And, how could somebody pretend to be the VRNE? Or if they are the VRNE, how could they just arbitrarily handle people's case and their rehab plan? Who cares if somebody has degrees? The degrees are all connected in one shape or form to the military. Doesn't mean you can do it in the civilian world. My intelligence degree is for somebody that's working in the intelligence community. I have very limited ability to do that because of my health conditions. Those jobs that I would be able to get because of my health conditions in the intelligence community, because of things I've done or enforced protection, I can't do because I can't get a clearance because of what happened with the VA. So the only option is retrain, and the background's there. They just won't let me finish it, or they're just gaslighting me so I can't. So then another year passes by, then we become 11 years living in poverty, going nowhere. My my daughter's suffering. Who knows who's targeting them overseas because I can't even travel there because I don't have enough money. And people continue to use us and traffic us. And people like Governor Gretchen Whitmer, will talk through the side of her mouth how Michigan veterans are doing so good when she ignored the message that I sent her asking for help. Instead, insulting me by sending me a brochure about how people, um, was it about cognitive decline or about care for elderly people as they age, just to insult me. I don't want to get into politics though, but Michigan doesn't care for her veterans. Some states do much, much better. Alaska and Illinois, they got Michigan beat by far. And Michigan's politicians and law enforcement who refuse to take steps to protect and admit that in Michigan, veterans are being targeted, you know, in many different ways, but especially through the internet, through call centers, through data centers, and people want to build more.